Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Readers Are Leaders. I have celebrating Black History Month. I have my first reader, Miriam Lark, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. And Miriam, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Good morning. I hope everyone is excited. Another program this year for Black History Month. I'm very excited. My name is Mrs. Lark, and I will be reading I will be reading Sweet Clara and the Freedom Quilt. But before I get started, I want you to think about the people that Clara is going to meet along the way. So if you can do me a favor, if you can write down on your computer or on a piece of paper 5 characters that you hear me mention in the story and how they relate to Clara. So that way I got you engaged while you're listening to the story. The story is about the Underground Railroad. And I know that the Underground Railroad is not a train. It's actually people who help other folk get to escape to freedom. The basis of the story is about a quilt. And I hope you can see a quilt. And I will show you a picture of a quilt at the end. But I want you to understand what the quilt means to freedom. And a quilt is like a bedspread. It's like a blanket. But what you do is you stitch together blocks to explain the journey to freedom. So sit back, relax, and I'm going to start the story called Sweet Clara and the Freedom Quilt. Before I was even 12 years old, I got sent from North Farm to Home Plantation because they needed another field hand. That meant I was working out in the field. When I got there, I cried so much they thought I was never going to eat or drink again. I didn't want to leave my mama. I'm going back to her, I whispered every day to young Jack, who worked beside me in the fields. That's young Jack. Well, you better start eating all you can, sweet Clara. He smiled at me. But then his smile was gone. In a low voice, he says, or else you won't make it. Young Jack helped me believe I can get back to my mama someday. Truth was, I'd be lost before I got through those fields, them being so big and all. But I didn't give up dreaming, just like I don't want you to give up on your dreams. Aunt Rachel was raising me now. She wasn't my real aunt, but she did the best she could to take care of me. One night she come back from working in the big house and she found me laying tired on the cabin floor. She shook her head and said, "Sweet Clara, you ain't gonna last in the field." But I got an idea. Aunt Rachel idea was sewing, and she started teaching me the very next night. It wasn't easy for me to learn because my head already was rough and hands was already rough and clumsy from hoeing and weeding the fields. So Aunt Rachel took it real slow. She bought scraps of cloth from the big house and taught me about each one, how it was special and had to be treated in its own way. I like to piece the scraps together to make pretty patterns of colors, but Aunt Rachel didn't care much about pretty patterns. Tomorrow, you coming with me to the big house. I got it all worked out, Aunt Rachel say one day. I was frightened. You ready to sew with me? She went on. Mrs. daughter, Ella, be getting married come spring. I told Mrs. I'm gonna be needing some help. So she looked at your work and with her sharp eyes, and she said you could come and check, and she wants you to check it out. So the next morning, I tried to eat some cornbread, but my insides was all knotted up. I never been inside the big house before, or even seen white folks that close, except the overseer. The morning sun was streaming into the sewing room, turning everything yellow. Aunt Rachel gave me some sheets to hem. Instead of being contrary, that needle did it all I wanted to do. It just went with my hands. At the end of the day, the missus come in. "Let me see your work, Clara," she says. I gave her the sheet and she ran it through her hands real slow. I held my breath, watching. From now on, you come on to the big house. When she left, Aunt Rachel and I looked at each other, about ready to burst. We done it! Yay! We done it! So I changed from a field hand working out in the field to a seamstress. Since the sewing room was right off the kitchen, Aunt Rachel and I were near Cook and the helpers. That's Cook and the helpers. There was always lots of bustles and company in the kitchen. I was hearing about all kinds of new places and things. I listened so hard it felt like my ears must be growing right out of my head and getting big with listening. One day, two white men come to see the master. The drivers went into the kitchen to talk to the cook. There've been too many runaways last summer, one of the drivers said. They going around asking the masters in the country to join the patty rollers. Now, the patty rollers are people, they're like soldiers. They hang around in the areas to maintain order. And if they see any runaways, they snatch them up. Crazy, run away, muttered Cook as she beat up some of the batter. Where you going to get to, except lost in the swamp? Don't know, said the other, but I hear we ain't that far from the Ohio River. Once you get that far, the Underground Railroad will carry you across. That's right, agreed the first. The railroad will get you all the way to Canada, and then you'll be free forever. Walking back from the big house that evening, I asked Aunt Rachel about what I heard. Where's Canada? And what's the Underground Railroad? See there, Aunt Rachel pointed. That's the North Star. Under that star, far up north in Canada, the Underground Railroad is people who be helping folks get there like a secret light. She looked at me hard, but don't you start thinking about it. You run away and get caught, you could be beaten. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Next day, I asked Cook, those two men that was here yesterday, they talking about a map. Well, what's a map? Oh, that's just a picture of the land, that's all. Whatever's on the ground, you can put it onto a map. Sunday, I went to my favorite place on the little hill, and I looked out at the people's cabins and the fields. The cabins are quarters where people lived. I took a stick and started making a picture in the dark of everything I could see. But how could I make a picture of things that far away that I couldn't see? And how could I make a map that wouldn't be washed away by the rain? A map that would show the way to freedom. So I started making a quilt. When you sewing, no matter how careful you be, little scraps of cloth always be left after you cut out a dress or a pillowcase. So while my ears keep listening and my hands kept sewing, I began to squirrel away these bits of cloth. When we was off work, I went to visit people in the quarters. Remember, I told you the quarters is where people lived. I started asking what fields was where. Then I started piecing the scraps of cloth with the scraps of things that I was actually learning. Aunt Rachel say, Sweet Clara, what kind of pattern you making in that quilt? Ain't no pattern I've ever seen before. I don't know, Aunt Rachel. I'm just patching it together as I go. She looked at me real long and hard, but she just nodded her head. You know what I was already doing, right? Look at my quilt. There was buzzing in the quarters one summer evening. I saw the patty rollers and I knew someone had run away. Guess who it was? It was young Jack. But 5 days later, they caught him. The next Sunday, I went to see him, and we walked to the top of the little hill. He didn't smile the way he used to smile. I took a stick and I began to draw on the dirt. I drew a little square for the big house, a line of boxes of the cabins of the quarters, some bigger squares for the fields east of the big house. I drew as much as I pieced together. Jack sat next beside me, not saying anything, not even looking at me at first. Then he started seeing what I was doing. I handed the stick to him. I hear him catch his breath up real quick, and then he began to draw. What do you think he was drawing? I worked on the quilt for a long time. Sometimes months would go by, and I would get any pieces sewn in. The quilt got bigger and bigger, and if folks knew what I was doing, no one said a word. But they came by the sewing room to pass the time of day whenever they could, and they would make little hints to me. By the way, Claire, a driver might tell me, I heard the master saying yesterday he didn't want to travel to Mr. Moore's place because it's over 20 miles north of here. Mm-hmm. Or someone would sit eating cook's food and say, so as I could hear, word is they're going to plant corn in the 3 west fields on the Verona plantation this year. These were all little clues for me to hear. Or someone, and when the master went out hunting, Cook's husband was the guide. He come back and say, that swamp next to home plantation is a nasty place. But listen up, Claire. I'll tell you how I thread my way in and out of there as soon as you needle in that cloth. So they always giving me hints about what to look for if I'm thinking about running. Then one night, the quilt was done. I looked at it, spread it out in the dim light of the cabin. Aunt Rachel studied it for a long time. She took the stitches lightly, her fingers moving slowly over the last piece I'd added. A hidden boat that would carry us across the Ohio River. Finally, they came to rest on a bright star at the top. She tried to make her voice real happy. You always did like to make patterns and pictures, Clara, she said. You get yourself married to young Jack one of these days, and you two will have a nice quilt to sleep under. Aunt Rachel, I couldn't sleep under this quilt, I answered softly, putting my hands over hers. Wouldn't be restful anyhow. I think it should stay here. Maybe other people can use it to help them get to freedom. Aunt Rachel sighed. But ain't you going to need the quilt where you going? I kissed her. Don't worry, Aunt Rachel. I got the memory in my head. It rained hard for 3 days the next week. Me and Jack left home plantation in a dark thunderstorm. The day after, it was too stormy to work in the fields. So Jack wasn't missed, and Aunt Rachel told them I was sick. We went north, following the trail of the Freedom Quilt. All the things people told me about, all the teeny stitches I took. Now I could see the real things. There was an old oak tree down by Lighting, the winding road near the creek, the hunting path through the swamp. It was like me being in a dream. You already dreamed. Here's a picture of the oak tree, and here's Jack and me on our way to freedom. Mostly we hid during the day and at night. When we got to North Farm, Jack slipped it through the darkness to find what cabin my mama was at. See, when we left, I went looking back. I went looking for my mama to see if she would want to go with me to freedom. I didn't even. Then we went to get her and found a little sister I didn't even know I had. Mama was so surprised. Sweet Clara, she said, you grown so big. Her eyes, just like I remembered. Her arms were strong around me. Mama, I'm here for you. We're going north. We know the way. I was afraid they wouldn't come, but then Mama said yes. Young Jack carried my sister Anna, and I held on to Mama's hand. We kept on fast as we could, skirting farms and towns, and making our way through the woods. At last, one clear dark night, we came across to the Ohio River. The river was high, but I remember the place on the quilt where I marked the crossing. We searched the brush along the banks until at last we found the little boat. This was hid here by the folks in the Underground Railroad. And you know the people that helped us in the Underground Railroad was people from all over, white, black, everybody. Everybody that wanted us to be free helped us. The boat carried us across the dark, deep water to the other side. Shivering and hungry and scared, we stood looking ahead. Which way? Which way now? Jack asked me. I pointed. The North Star was shining clear above us, up there through the woods, north to Canada. Let's go in that direction. Sometimes I think back to the night we left, when young Jack came to wake me. I can still see Aunt Rachel sitting up in her bed. She just shook her head before I could say a word. Before you go, just cover me with your quilt, sweets, Clara, she said. I'm too old to walk, but not too old to dream. And maybe, just maybe, I can help others follow the quilt to freedom. Aunt Rachel kept her word. The quilt is still there. It's hanging up at the home plantation. People go look at it, even folks from neighboring farms. I know because some of them that escaped came and told me how they used that quilt to get to freedom. But now, all are lucky, but not all are as lucky as we are, and most never can come. Sometime I wish I could sew a quilt that would spread over the whole land, and the people just follow the stitches to freedom, as easy as taking a Sunday walk. That is the story of Sweet Claire and the Freedom Quilt. Now, I asked you at the beginning of the conversation to write down 5 characters that related to the quilt. So when I'm done explaining the quilt that you see on your screen at the top left is what we call the tumbling blocks. The tumbling blocks, I want to relate it to your life because you're going to fall in life. But the key that you have to do is when you fall, you dust your pants off and you get back up because you come from strong people and you know that you got to do what you got to do to get to the next. Okay, the next thing is called a monkey wrench. It looks like a square and it looks like handles are on it. Well, the monkey wrench means that in life, just because you think you got it all figured out what you're going to do, there's going to be stumbles. There's going to be things that's going to get in the way. And they're called monkey wrenches. Just somebody just threw a monkey wrench into my plan. But you can make it. Don't let that monkey wrench stop you from getting to the dreams that you want to go to. Okay, and the last one on the top to the right is the wagon wheel. Okay, in order to get ahead in life, you're going to need to gather all your tools. And the tools means that you might have to learn how to do well in science and math and speak well. Those are the tools that's going to get you to the next level to get the job that you are dreaming of right now, because I know that you have an idea of what you like to do when you grow up. Okay, and underneath that is underneath the tumbling blocks, you'll see the bear paws, and that's the tracks that they used when they were going to heading to Canada because there were animals that would track where they're going. But for you, those tracks is things that you're going to have to keep yourself on track to get to that next level, to get to where you want to go. Okay, and then we have the flying geese. Okay, and that again, when Claire was looking to find out where Canada was, they followed the birds to get to the next direction. So you're going to have a plan to follow, and so they use these quilts to tell the story. And the last one on the side is called Crossroads. And again, there's going to be crossroads in life, but it's what you do with it. And I know that you're learning all the stuff you need by staying in school to get you to the next level. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of our conversation. I asked you to write down in the chat 5 characters that related to the story. Did anyone come up with any names that you heard in the story? I'm going to give you a couple seconds and I'm going to check the chat room. I guess I'll be able to see what you did. And if I can't, make sure you turn that into your teacher, and I'm sure she will give you extra credit. Any questions, comments? Any comments? You can put them in the chat. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to end. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful story. I was checking the chat and I don't see any questions,
Okay.
comments, but just thank you for sharing that wonderful story with us. Um, I'm just going to give a few more minutes to see if we have any more comments or any questions. And anyone have any questions for Miss Lark? And I know there's a delay because we're streaming live, so
Right, right, right.
we're getting a lot of thank yous.
Oh, good, good. Clap, clap.
All right. So if we don't have any more, if there's no, okay. Okay, I thought I had a question. Oh, thanks. More thank yous. Oh, someone says, do you quilt?
No, tell actually no, my girlfriend does. She was the one who made the quilt for me. So tell them that my girlfriend made the
Yeah,
quilt. They can hear me? Oh,
they
no.
can hear you.
No.
They can hear you.
Yeah, I do have an actual picture of a quilt that they can see. Um,
I did
that she
show
did.
that picture.
Right, right.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That quilt is big.
Yeah, it's huge. But she made it for me. So when I do live storytelling, I bring the quilt so they can actually touch it. It's a good question.
Wow, nice. Someone commented on the quilt. Says beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Lark.
You're welcome. Have a good
Thank you.
morning. Good morning. Have a good day, class.
So we have our next reader up, Miss Claudia Cream. Will be up in a few minutes. So stay tuned, everyone. Hello, Claudia.
Good morning. Is it nice and clear?
It's nice and clear, and we are live, and you look fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Oh, okay. Well, welcome back, everyone. We have our next reader, uh, Miss Claudia Cream. She is reading to the second and third grade, and I just want to send a shout out and hello to our Pennsauken schools um, for joining us today to celebrate Black History Month. And what better way to celebrate Black History Month is to share the joy of reading. So we have our next reader. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. And Claudia, take it away.
Good morning, scholars and teachers. I am so glad I'm here. I'm Mrs. Cream, and I'm also known as Nana Abijah. And I tell you that because I am a chief in a village in Ghana, that's in West Africa. And I know second and third graders, you're saying, I know about a chief, and a chief is not a woman. Well, yes, I am a chief in Ghana. I am a woman. And when you're a chief, that is a position of honor and power. So in Ghana, in my village in Tachim, I am known as Chief Nana Abijah. Like I said, I'm glad I'm here. I love to read, and I love children's books. And I'm glad I have an opportunity to be with you this morning to share. But before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. You know, I'm a chief, but I like to tell people by describing who I am. Who is Mrs. Cream? Mrs. Cream is creative. Mrs. Cream is respectful. Mrs. Cream is enthusiastic. Mrs. Cream is amazing. And Mrs. Cream is motivating. So think about that. So when people ask you who you are, describe who you are, because hopefully that will never change. What does Mrs. Cream do? Now you know who I am. Let me tell you what I do. I had a career in education. I started out as a teacher. Then I became a school principal. And I did that for over 36 years. When I retired, you know, as teachers, the teachers that are on here, we never retire as a teacher. So when I retired, I continued. I have 2 businesses, so I'm an entrepreneur. Along with that, I love to travel. I travel when I'm reading books, and I travel in person. So that's who I am and what I do. And it's important today, as I share some of the books from my personal library, that you understand that you can read anywhere and at any time. So from my library, the first book I'm going to share is a poem. And when I get a book, I look at the words, I look at the illustrations, and that's how I add books to my library. So the first book that I'm going to share with you is called Our Children Can Soar. It's by Michelle Cook. And you see the beautiful cover. And because this is Black History Month, I'm going to share with you in this poem some pioneers in Black history. These are individuals that you can learn more about, read about, and they can inspire you to be successful. Our Children Can Soar by Michelle Cook. I love reading in person, so this is kind of new. Our ancestors fought so George could invent. George invented so Jesse could sprint. Jesse sprinted so Hallie could star. Hallie starred so Ella could sing. Ella sang so Jackie could score. Jackie scored Rosa could sit. Rosa sat so Ruby could learn. Ruby learned so Martin could march. Martin marched so Thurgood could rule. Thurgood ruled so Barack could run. Barack ran so our children could soar, and higher and faster and stronger they go. In the book, the pioneers you learned about: George Washington Carver, Jesse Owens, Hattie McDaniel, Ella Fitzgerald, Jackie Robinson, Rosa Parks, Ruby Bridges, Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, and Barack Obama. Pioneers in Black history, so that you could stand on the shoulders of ancestors and know that you can rise, because you can soar. You have the gifts, you have the talent, and you have the support. So each and every one of you can be successful. And I love that poem because it leads me into my next favorite book. Because when you learn or use your imagination and your skills, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. So the second book that I'm going to share from my library, which I love to talk about, African American inventors and inventions. I am fascinated by all the inventions and inventors that has taken place. So my next book is called Have You Thanked an Inventor Today? And if you didn't think about an inventor or an invention, an inventor is a person who's a problem solver. They see something that they need, they don't have, so they solve that problem by inventing it. So you can take a current thing and make it better. That's an inventor. And in that invention is a new way or an improvement on something old. So as I'm going through the story about Have You Thanked an Inventor Today, think about all the inventions. Look around. And I want you to share either with someone at home, your parent, your grandparent, some of the inventions you learned about today. And I'm sure your teachers are going to ask you later on, what inventions did you hear and learned about today that you were surprised that were invented by a Black man or a Black woman? So have you thanked an inventor today? This book is by Patrice McLaurin and is illustrated by Diane Wang. The world is full of inventions. Some of them we don't even think about. But if we took the time to think about them, we realize we wouldn't want to live without them. So look around and think about the various things that make your life a little easier. You see, inventions, they make our lives much easier, and they also make our lives more fun. So we should thank the inventors who invent great inventions, for without them, we might not get anything done. So this could be you thinking about, what do I need to invent to make my life easier or solve a problem? Like, for instance, when your mom wakes you up in the morning to let you know that it's time to go to school, you stretch and yawn, rub the corner of your eyes, and probably wipe away the drool from last night. We all can relate. Every morning when you get up to go to school, your mother opens the curtains. It's time for you to get up. Think about what wakes you up in the morning if it's not your mother. Well, that's when you happen to glance over at your clock and realize that you're running a bit late. Well, you wouldn't know that were if it not for Benjamin Banneker. He invented the first clock in the United States. Thank you, Benjamin Banneker, for inventing the clock. So you put on clothes and rush into the bathroom. You wash your face, brush your teeth, then brush your hair. Well, you should thank Lydia Newman for part of your morning grooming, as a modern day hairbrush was her awesome idea. Thank you, Lydia Newman, for the hairbrush. Afterwards, you're called into the kitchen for breakfast. This morning it's cereal with fruit and wheat toast. Well, thank goodness John Standard improved the refrigerator, because hot milk with your cereal is pretty gross. Thank you, John Standard, for inventing the refrigerator. And when you're on your way to school, whether you're a bus rider, a car rider, or you walk, you have to thank Garrett Morgan for the traffic light. Otherwise, none of our streets would be safe to cross. Thank you, Garrett Morgan, for the traffic light. Then after you're settled into your classroom and you've taken out your supplies because you're such a scholar, please remember to show love to Mr. John Love, for his invention was none other than the pencil sharpener. Thank you, John Love, for the pencil sharpener. Now, as much as I know that you love to learn, You'll admit that sometimes lunch is your favorite time of day. Well, you can thank John Robinson for your lunchbox. But for what's inside it, it's your mom that you need to thank. So thank you, John Robinson, for the lunchbox. And what does mom usually pack in your lunchbox? Tasty snacks that make your belly go yum, like peanut butter, made popular by George Washington Carver, or potato chips, made popular by George Crumb. Thank you, George Washington Carver, for inventions of peanuts. Thank you, George Crumb, for your invention of the potato chip. Fast forward, this school day is now over. It's been a long one, and you're happy to be home. You check the mailbox invented by P. Downing. Then chill in front of the air conditioner invented by Frederick Jones. Thank you, P. Downing, for the mailbox. Thank you, Frederick Jones, for the air conditioner. Plus, and I know this is not your class, plus your teacher didn't assign any homework. So you decide to play a few games on this cell phone. Well, if it wasn't for Henry Sampson's gamma electric cell, believe it or not, there will be no cell phone. So thank you, Henry Sampson Jr., for the cell that is inside the cell phone. And these are just a few awesome inventions. There are countless other ones that I didn't even mention, like the doorknob invented by O. Dorsey, or a type of guitar invented by Robert Fleming. Sarah Boone invented the ironing board, and Thomas Stewart invented the mop. Lonnie Johnson invented the super soaker, and W.A. Martin, he improved the lock. So as you can see, inventions, the guitar, the super soaker, the doorknob, the mop, all invented by African Americans. So now, here's what I want you to do. I'd like for you to take a moment or two and ponder over how life would be if these inventions weren't created for you. Some of the inventions that we mentioned: the traffic light, the clock, the ironing board, the refrigerator. Then, as you lie in your bed this evening and think about how your day was spent, don't forget to thank an inventor. So as you look around, thank an inventor. Then dream about what you like to invent, because everyone can dream and everyone can think of something to improve upon. Now I'm going to give you some more information about each of the inventors. I told you about Benjamin Banneker. He was a mathematician, an astronomer, and a writer. He invented America's first clock in the early 1750s, and he helped to design the city of Washington, D.C. Thank you, Benjamin Banneker. Frederick McKinley Jones was a mechanical electrical engineer. Through his patent, he states that he invented an air conditioning unit. Jones actually invented the first automatic refrigeration system for trucks. So all the trucks that bring the food to the stores, the refrigerated trucks, were invented by Frederick McKinley Jones. Garrett Morgan, you heard me mention, was a repairman and a business owner. He invented the three-light traffic signal in 1923. He also invented and approved the sewing machine and the gas mask. Thank you, Garrett Morgan. George Washington Carver was a teacher at Tuskegee Institute. He invented over 100 products with the peanut and the sweet potato. Thank you, George Washington Carver. George Crumb was a cook and a restaurant owner. He invented the potato chip in 1853. Thank you, George Crumb. Henry Thomas Sampson Jr. is an inventor and a nuclear engineer. He invented the gamma electric cell, which is a cell used in powering all cell phones. He did this in 1971. Thank you, Henry Thomas Sampson Jr. John Lee Love was an inventor. He invented the portable pencil sharpener in 1889. This pencil sharpener was also known as the Love Sharpener. Thank you, John Love. John Robinson was an inventor. He invented the lunchbox in the 1890s. Thank you, John Robinson. John Stanford was an inventor. He invented and improved the model of the refrigerator in 1891. He also invented and improved the oil stove. Thank you, John Stanford. Lonnie Johnson is a nuclear engineer. He invented the Super Soaker. It's a water gun, and he did that in 1982. He also worked on space missions to Jupiter and Saturn. Thank you, Lonnie Johnson. Lydia Newman was a hairdresser and a women's rights activist. She invented an improved model of the hairbrush in 1898. She also fought for women's rights to vote. Thank you, Lydia Newman. Osborne Dorsey was an inventor. He invented the doorknob in 1878. He also invented the doorstop. Thank you, O. Dorsey. P.B. Downing was an inventor. He invented the street letterbox. He also invented an electrical switch for railroads. Thank you, Philip Downing. Robert Fleming Jr. was an inventor. He is best known for inventing a version of the guitar in 1886. Thank you, Robert Fleming Jr. Sarah Boone was an inventor. She invented the ironing board in 1892. Thank you, Sarah Boone. Thomas Stewart was an inventor. He invented an improved version of the mop in 1893. He also invented a metal bending machine. Thank you, Thomas Stewart. W.A. Martin was an inventor. He invented an improved version of the lock in 1889. Thank you, W.A. Martin. So I read to you some inventors and inventions. Now let me show you up close those same inventions. You can sing along with me. You can write it down. You can clap your hands. But it's important that we give credit where credit is due. A lot of inventions were to make life easier. So I have a little song to go with my picture inventions. So as a review, here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The traffic light, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The super soaker, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The ironing board, made by a black woman. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The letterbox, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The hairbrush, made by a black woman. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The pencil sharpener, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The cell phone, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The clock, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The products from the peanut, 300 products made by a black man. Those were inventions that you heard in my story. You thanked a black inventor. I'm also going to share now some inventions that were not in my story. That as you look around, you can say, I didn't know that was invented by African American. Here's my song again. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The bicycle frame, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The ice cream scoop, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The fountain pen, we know today is the ink pen, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The bandage, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The wrench, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The golf tee, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody's ever mentioned. The filament in the light bulb, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody ever mentioned. The library table, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody's ever mentioned. The dustpan, made by a black man. Here's another invention nobody's ever mentioned. The hot comb, made by a black woman. There's many more inventions made by African Americans. I hope you learned quite a few today. Share them with family or whoever will listen to you. Say, I learned something new, because knowledge is power. And when you learn something, some information, pass it on. Also, take the time to Google African American inventors and inventions and learn about others. So I just want to thank you for letting me be a part today. I will entertain any questions, but keep in mind, children, readers are leaders. The more you read, the more you know. The more you know, the more you grow. And once you get it here, no one can take it away from you. So again, thank you. And if there's no questions, I hope everyone will continue to have a positive and productive school year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudia. That was fantastic. I learned a lot today, especially the library table. I was like, whoa, I did not know that. Yes.
Yes.
And the iron board. Yeah, I was,
Yes.
it's just amazing. So many things I don't, you don't know.
No.
I just also that we do have a lot of libraries, lot of books in the library currently on Black inventors.
Great.
And we do have that book that you read. Have you thanked the inventor today? If we do not have that book, we will surely get that book. But I know we do have a couple books on the Black inventors. So if you're interested in more to reading about this topic, please check with us. The library is open, not open for browsing, but the library is open. So if you would like to check out a book, we have a pickup service currently right now since we don't allow browsing. So you can call the library, call the number. You can also email askalibrarian@pennsauken.org, and you can request a book. Our library staff will search for the book and will call you when it's ready. You can pick it up. So we still have books that available for you to check out. And we do have a list of feature list of Black History Month selection of books listed on our catalog website. So if you enjoy any of the books today, call us and we'll place the book on hold for you. Did we have any questions? Thank you. Do we have any questions from anyone? And what we doing? Class, second and third grade class. Welcome, Pennsauken School. Questions? I don't see any comments. So, Miss Crean, thank you so much again. I learned a lot. I know everybody else have. And once again, readers are leaders.
Yes, that's right. Thank
you. Bye.
Bye.
So we have our next reader up, Larry Cardwell, and he will be reading to K in first grade. I'm going to add Larry.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Oh, good.
You're next up.
Okay.
To part of our Black History Month celebration, Readers Are Leaders. And you're reading to our K in first grade. And welcome to the K in first grade out there, everyone. Larry, I'm a let you take it away.
Okay.
All right.
All righty. Well, this is one of my passions. I love to read. I probably read as much as anybody that you know. I found out when I was a kid in elementary school that reading could take me places that I might not physically be able to visit, but I could find out about places, and it's an awesome thing, awesome talent. So make sure you continue to read, because just like the theme, readers are leaders. Would you like to be in the front of the pack or in the back of the pack? Especially if it's a dusty ground and dust is all in the air, you would want to be in the front so that the dust is going in the back and you're not being affected by it. Anyway, today, the first book that I have two books So the first book is called May Among the Stars. I really liked it. I learned something when I read it. Oh, I'm sorry. Hopefully, it's not too much reflection on it. See it? May Among the Stars. So we're going to get right into it. And this is based, you're going to be amazed to find that this is actually based on a true story. Anyway, this is a picture of May. It says, one day, I'm going to hold it up like this as I read. One day, May was working on an assignment for school about what she wanted to be when she grew up. Oh, I'm sorry, I got it's backwards here for me. This is May here studying. It says she was working on an assignment for school about what she wanted to be when she grew up. And so her mom says, "What will you tell them, May?" May says, "I will tell them I want to see Earth." Let's turn to the next page. That's very interesting. She wants to see Earth. I thought we lived here. It says, "This is Earth, May." That's what her mother said to her. "The flowers, the grass, the forest, and the mountains. We live on Earth." "I know," said May, "but I want to see Earth from out there." And she's pointing to the moon. Let me show that. Okay. I got to get this right with my pictures. She says, "I want to see it from the moon." That's where she wants to see Earth from. It says, "That's an amazing plan, little May. Then you have to become an astronaut. That way you can see Earth from space." Astronaut. Do you think I could do that? So they're looking up at the sky again, her and her mom. And her mom says, "Of course you can." And this is very important. Listen to these words that her mom tells her. It says, "If you can dream it, if you believe it, and work hard for it, anything is possible." I think I should read that again. It says, "Of course you can. If you can dream it, if you believe it, and work hard for it, anything is possible." May asked her mom, here's a library that May gets to. It says, May asked her mom to take her to the library. She searched for books about space and astronauts. So you see her, she's in there being diligent. She's working hard for it. She's finding out books, finding out information. And then here's the next picture. She created her own little outfit, astronaut suit. It says, after dinner, May drew pictures of space, and she even made her own astronaut costume out of old orange curtains and cardboard boxes. Look at that. That was pretty good. She used those curtains and the boxes to make her own astronaut suit. That's awesome. Sounds like she's very interested in it, excited about being an astronaut. Later, she asked her dad, and here's a picture of May's dad. It says, later, she asked her dad, "But how do I become an astronaut? It seems impossible." "You will find your way, May, because if you dream it, believe in it, and work hard for it, anything is possible." That is pretty nice. May's mother and her dad say the same thing. It says, "You will find your way, May, because if you dream it, believe in it, and work hard for it, anything is possible." That's nice. Look at her. She's in her outfit, and her dad is reading to her, or reading with her. That is pretty cool. But May says, and then here she's looking at a telescope, and she's looking out at space. Let me make it a little better for you. And May says, "But space is so, so, so far away." "It's closer than you think, little May, and you may get there sooner than you think." That was her dad's response to her when she said, "It's so, so, so far away." That was three so's. It wasn't just one or two. She thought it was very far away. And oh, this is going to be exciting. I'm going to read this before I even show you the picture to this one. It says, that night, May had a happy dream. She was dancing in space, surrounded by billions of sparkling stars. Below her, she could see Earth, floating and turning like a shining crystal ball. This is her in her dream. She's floating in space. See her in her astronaut suit or her space suit. Let's see what happens next. The next morning, they're at breakfast, her and her family. And so the next morning, May told her parents about her dream. She wanted to tell everyone. She got on the phone, and every time she talked about it, her eyes would light up. Isn't it funny? She's even telling her cat right here. She's telling her grandma. She's telling her mom. She's telling everyone about her dream. She is excited. In the classroom, Miss Bell, her teacher, and here's her teacher, Miss Bell. You see May right here where my pinky is. Anyway, so it says, in the classroom, Miss Bell told everyone to stand in line on the rug. Today, we are all going to share our dreams about the future. What do you want to be and what do you want to do when you grow up? Who wants to go first? And all at once, everybody started shouting out their dream. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a football player. I want to be a mom. I want to go to space. I want to be an astronaut. Of course, I know who everyone knows who that was. That was May that was saying she wants to be an astronaut. But when she said that, all the kids started laughing. That's not fun, is it? But she had a dream. All the kids started laughing. Even the teacher said, Miss Bell said, May, are you sure you don't want to be a nurse? Nursing would be a good profession for someone like you. That wasn't what she wanted, though. But look at her. They even in the picture here, they have a picture of her almost as though she's a nurse already. See the red cross over here on top of her hat? They're already picturing her as a nurse, but she pictured herself as an astronaut. And she says, I don't want to be a nurse. I want to be an astronaut. When she thinks of herself, you notice that she has the helmet and the astronaut gear on. And that's how she sees herself. But sometimes when people tell you things about your dream, you may not believe it all the time anymore. And here's what happened. You notice she's blue now? That's blue represents sad in this case. May felt very disappointed. On her way home from school, May was quiet. She looked out the car window. Her world turned blue and cold. Nothing was the way it used to be. See again, I'll show you that again. She's very sad now. That's a shame. May wanted to be an astronaut. Let's see what happens. At home, you'll see her with her mom. And it's nice to have someone that supports you, that supports your dream. So let's see what her mom says to her. At home, May started crying. Miss Bell said, I can't become an astronaut. And listen what her mother's reply was. What a silly thing to say, said her mother. Then May said, she told me I should be a nurse instead, said May. And her mom wiped away her tears. My dear May, I hope you didn't believe her. Of course I believed her. She's my teacher. I'm sorry Miss Bell didn't encourage you, but she can't stop you. No one can stop you. Follow your dream, May, and go to space. Remember what her mom said before? If you work hard, you believe it? Anyway, we'll hear about that again. But she says, follow your dream, May, and go to space. And this is May. Remember a minute ago, you saw that May, her whole world was blue. Now it's colorful again because her mom encouraged her. It's good to have people to encourage you. Thank you, Mom. I promise when I get to space, I will wave to you and Dad from the spaceship. That's a nice dream, isn't it? Her mom took her hand and they started dancing. Here they go. Now, I would dance for you, but I don't want you guys to laugh at me. So we'll just pay attention to May and her mom dancing instead of me. How about that? All right. Anyway, her mom took her hand and they started dancing. And listen to this. Her mom says, you must always repeat to yourself, if I can dream it, if I can believe in it, and if I work hard for it, anything is possible. I'm going to say that again. That way you guys will remember it. It says, you should always repeat to yourself, if I can dream it, If I can believe in it, and if I work hard for it, anything is possible. That's pretty cool. Let's see the next thing. Oh man, I better read this before I show you the picture because you'll be jumping and dancing in the streets. It says, May went on dreaming, believing, and working really hard. And guess what? She went to space and waved to her mom and dad on Earth. Look at her. This is actual. This is something that actually happened. Of course, this isn't. This is a animated drawing, but let's see. There's a. It says that May is Mae Jemison. This is who it was about. This story is about Mae Jemison, and she actually really did get to become an astronaut. She became the first female African American that went into space, and so she really did work for NASA and became an astronaut. That is awesome. I love that story. I didn't know anything about it until I picked it up from the library, and I learned something. That's what happens when we pick up a book from the library. Almost always we're going to learn something. And readers are leaders. We can't stress that enough. The more you read, you're going to know more and more. It increases your vocabulary. It increases your intelligence. So anyway, enough of that. This next book is called The Bat Boy and His Violin. Oh, I got to put it out here so that it's not reflected off my light. I have a light here so that you can see me really clearly and see what I'm reading. Now, this book contains a lot more verbiage, a lot more words. So, but it's about the Bat Boy and his violin. He's got a baseball uniform and a violin. That's a different combination, isn't it? That's not something you normally see. But let's read this. I'm going to do more reading than showing pictures. It doesn't have as many pictures, but I'll show a few. Again, here it is. Start. I'll show you a picture of the Bat Boy practicing his violin. And I'm going to read the way it's written. It says, his name is Reginald. I sashay my bow across the violin strings the way a mosquito skims a summer pond. I never knew a mosquito skimmed a summer pond. It says, with hardly any mistakes, Tchaikovsky fills the living room of our house on Tyler Road. When the back door slams and metal cleats stomp on the kitchen floor, I know Papa is home. Is Reginald at it again, he shouts between the notes. Hush up, Mama says. I just love this one. Cooped up inside all the time, it's a wonder that boy don't sprout mushrooms. I tried to play louder than Papa's voice by sawing the music hard. He sometimes comes home in a bad mood because he's the manager of the Dukes. They are the worst team in the Negro National League. His dad is the coach. So far, the 1948 season has been the toughest yet. Papa's even having trouble booking games the team is likely to lose anyway. He says it's because all his best hitters and fielders are going over to play for white teams, the way Jackie Robinson did last year. And it says, oh, here's a picture of his dad and his mom, and you see Reginald at the piano with his violin and his forget what it's called. We'll look it up. We'll read it. Have to read that. It says, you know our baby wants to be in a famous orchestra someday, Mama says, following Papa into the living room. Well, right now, the Dukes could use a bat boy, and I think it'll do Reginald some good to get out of the house. We'll get him a uniform and everything. Reginald stops playing. What about my practice, I ask. Don't you remember I have a recital next month in the basement at church? You can rehearse between innings. Tending the bats don't take up no whole lot of time. Papa pretends to swing one at an invisible pitch. Anyway, you do a good job, and I'll let you have your fiddle recital right here. I smile because our living room is bigger than the church basement. I prefer to call it a violin, I say. Papa doesn't hear. He's too busy admiring the trophy cabinet. Heck, Papa says, this might even inspire you to become a ball player the way your old man was. Again, here's his dad in his baseball uniform. He just got back from the game. The next morning, I ride with Papa and the Dukes to Cleveland on the team's rickety old bus. We get to the field for our game against the Buckeyes, and the bleachers are already packed with their fans. Here's their rickety old bus. Remember, this is 1948. That's why that bus probably looks old to us, especially. Mr. Forrest, the shortstop, is the first one up. I want to do a good job, so I bring him 6 bats to choose from. It's too many for me to carry, and they roll out of my hands and make Mr. Forrest stumble like he's skating on ice. He lands flat on his backside, making the crowd laugh and howl, just like they're seeing a circus clown performance. One at a time, boy. Papa's face is all crinkled. Mr. Forrest gets up and misses the ball 3 times. Nobody else falls, but the next 2 outs come quickly. The Dukes take the field, and I notice some bats are scuffed from Mr. Forrest's cleats. I remember the polish I use on my violin, and I shine up the bats clean with a towel until they shine. I lean them with the others evenly in a row against the fence, standing beside them ready for when it's the Duke's turn to bat again, praying that nothing more goes wrong. Here's Mr. Forrest on the ground. See the bats? He tripped all over them. A little too many bats he had in his hand, Reginald did when he was bringing them out. Starting to get the hang of it, ain't you, Papa says. Yep, I says, rocking heel to toe and toe to heel. Mr. Mosley, the third baseman, tips his cap because I hand him a bat. When he swings at the pitch, the bat slips out of his hand and misses the umpire's head by no more than an inch. I'll pass out the bats, Papa says after the umpire has calmed down. Papa grumbles under his breath because the umpire makes him rub dirt on each bat. And there's a reason for that. That's because Reginald shined all the bats with his violin polish, and they made the bats slippery. He says, "Can I help?" I ask, "Why don't you relax a spell on the bench? It'll give you a chance to fiddle." "You mean violin. Just keep it low. Lord knows I don't need nothing making my headache worse." Papa takes his cap off and uses it to wipe the sweat from his face. Here's the bat slipping out of the guy's hands, heading toward the umpire's head. See, it's not even in his hands. It's heading toward the umpire. That's why the umpire was upset. Anyway, so now Reginald plays. He says, "I play Swan Lake the way I feel, sad and quiet. But I'm not clumsy with my violin. I'm carefully glancing only one time at the music, which I know by heart. In the last part of the song, I pull my bow slowly to hold the final note long. That sure was something pretty," says Mr. LaRue. He's the center fielder. He's waiting on deck. "Kind of makes the hairs on the back of my neck do a jig." "Thank you," I say, a little embarrassed that anyone had listened. Here they're all listening to him play. See, he's in the clubhouse. And a minute ago, I told you we'd look up and find out what it's called, a bow. That's what they use, the bow on the violin. "You're up, LaRue," Papa calls. His headache must have disappeared because a smile crosses his face. "How about doing a jig with that bat and getting a hit?" As Mr. LaRue steps up to the plate, I start to play again. He lets the first pitch go past him, but swings hard on the next. "Run," Papa yells, because Mr. LaRue sends the ball toward the outfield. Before he can reach first base, the ball leaves the park. He takes his time and does kind of a hop around the field while I play until he gets back to home plate. Here's Mr. LaRue watching the ball go out of the ballpark. Mr. Irvin, the catcher, bats next, and I play Mozart, and the same thing happens. It happens with the left fielder, the second baseman, and the third baseman too. I am bushed by the ninth inning, but the Dukes have beaten the Buckeyes 7-4. It's the first game they win in months. "Ain't this a talented boy?" Papa says, and massages my arm instead of the pitcher's arm. I think Papa's proud of him. Each day I like being the bat boy more than the last. Papa handles the bats, and he lets me play my violin as much as I want. Besides that, the Dukes have stopped losing. I haven't seen Papa this happy since he was a player. 3 weeks into our winning streak, Papa makes an important announcement. "We got us a game with the Monarchs." I'm the only one not cheering, so I ask, are they any good? Any good, he says. Why, they're the best colored team there is. I thought we were, I say. If we beat them Monarchs, we will be. Folks are saying now that baseball is becoming integrated. The Negro Leagues won't be around forever. The season's coming to an end, and this might be the Duke's last chance to make a real mark, make a name for ourselves. Papa lifts me up onto his shoulder. Good thing we got us a gifted little bat boy. This is his team, or part of the team, and he's carrying his violin, or fiddle, as his dad likes to say, or Papa. Listen to this. The night before the big game, Papa can't find a hotel in town that will accept the Dukes. We don't exactly cotton to coloreds sleeping in our beds, one white clerk says. You're all going to have to look elsewhere. Thank you kindly, just the same, Papa says, tipping his cap. I reckon our bus will do us fine. We park on the field outside the stadium, and Mr. LaRue grills catfish and corn on the cob. After dinner, fancying their chances of winning the pennant makes the team too jittery to sleep. So I play them a lullaby Mama sometimes hums to me before bed. Reginald, Papa says, when the sound of snores joins the sound of crickets, you got a knack. That fool clerk should have heard your pretty fiddling. Violining, I tell Papa, before falling asleep on his belly. Here they are at the cooking out in the parking lot near their bus, because there was no place or hotel that would take them. The next day, the sun is high, and little shade can be found once the game has gone into extra innings. I play my best, but nothing seems to work, at least not for the Dukes. I play Beethoven, and Mr. Forrest and Mr. Mosley both hit balls that seem to fly right back into the pitcher's glove. I play Mozart, and Mr. LaRue is tagged out at home. But when I play Bach with the game tied, 2 outs, and Papa very nervous, Mr. O'Neill from the Monarchs knocks a high, curling ball into deep left field. I stop playing just in time to see the ball easily clear the fence. The Dukes lose 18-19. Oh man, they lost in overtime or in extra innings. Son, Papa finally says on the quiet ride home, play something happy. He takes the violin down from the baggage rack and hands it to me. We could all use a little cheering up. I was afraid you wouldn't like my music anymore, Reginald says. I twist the pegs to make sure it's tuned. Of course I still like your music. Papa sits in the seat, puts me on his lap. It sure helped us get a lot further than I thought we could, even without our best players. Shoot, when I shut my big mouth and listened, I loved what I heard. I love you, though, most of all. Win or lose, Negro Leagues or not, ain't no ball game ever going to change that. I love you too, Papa. I hug him and then play the minute waltz over and over again. A week later, baseball season is over, and I perform my recital. The only sound heard through our house on Tyler Road is the softness of a Schubert sonata with no mistakes. Mama, Papa, the Dukes, and their wives fill the first 4 rows of our crowded living room. You folks must be mighty proud of Reginald, I hear Mr. LaRue whisper. He sure plays a powerful fiddle. Papa smiles, puts his arm around Mama. Sure does, he says, except we prefer to call it a violin. And that is The Bat Boy and His Violin. I hope you enjoyed those 2 books. I enjoyed both of them. They were nice to read. And of course, the second one is not a true story. The first one was based on a true story. The second one is just based on events from history. And that's it. Any questions with anybody?
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
And I'm just going to check the comments and see if anyone have any questions about the book or for Larry. I know we are on maybe a 10-second delay, so we just a few minutes. Mm-hmm. And I just want, while I'm waiting for any comments, I just want to point out the Bad Boy and his violin and May Among the Stars is available here at the library. So if you want to check that book out, all you need is a library card, and library card is free.
And they will be returned today.
That's right, Larry have it right now, but we if you request them this week, we'll sure have them in time for you to pick them up. But Larry, I don't see any questions, but I do see a lot of comments saying thank you. I thank you. The Pennsauken School, thank you. Pennsauken Public Library, thanks you. And thank you for joining us for the special event for Black History Month. Readers are leaders, everyone. Please remember that. Oh, wait a minute. I do have a question.
Okay.
What is your favorite book?
Well, I like science fiction fantasy, so I read a lot of books like that now. But I also like books for that's going to teach me something about learning about finances and things like that. So I know I'm going around. So my favorite books are by Robert Jordan. He's an author of science fiction fantasy, the best series I've ever read. However, I read books for information, learning, like books about investing in the stock market, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. And so right now they're my favorite because they're teaching me how to make money. So I like those as well.
Thank you, Larry. I'm trying to see if any other questions. Thank you. Like I said, a lot of thank yous.
My pleasure.
I do have a question. What hours are the library open? I can answer that question. The library is actually open Monday 11 to 8, and Tuesday to Friday 11 to 4, and Saturday 11 to 1.
Well, like I said, my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
My last word, readers are leaders.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. We will set up, stay tuned for our last reader, which is me. And stay tuned. I'll be back in just a minute. Hello, everyone. We're back, and welcome to Readers Are Leaders. I just want to say good morning to everyone again. Good morning to our readers. Good morning to our leaders, and good morning to our future leaders. And I want to send a special hello and good morning to our pre-K, to all our pre-K grades and classes in all of our Pennsauken schools. I just want to say hello and welcome. to our readers, our leaders, celebrating Black History Month. And what better way to celebrate Black History Month is to share the joy of reading. So, just to introduce myself, my name is Tanya Finney Estrada, and I am the director of the Pennsauken Free Public Library. And just like your school library, you have a public library. Your public library is your neighborhood library. And we here at Pennsauken Free Public Library, we service all the residents of Pennsauken. And today we are hosting a special event called Readers Are Leaders. And actually, this is our second year doing Readers and Leaders. Last year was our first year. And due to the pandemic, we normally was going to go in person and read to you in your classrooms, but due to the pandemic, we cannot do that. So we are doing it virtual. I am actually streaming this live from the library. One thing about doing this program virtual, we were able to not just go to maybe one school each year, but we're able to stream this to all the schools. So I'm able to see all my pre-K friends right now, and this is fantastic. So one benefit about virtual programming is that we can reach a broader audience. So I'm so glad to have you all here today. And I see a couple shout outs out right now for many of my pre-K from Baldwin. I just want to say hi, Carson, all of them. Delaire, all of my pre-K classes. I just want to say hello. So today I'm going to read you a story. I'll try to read you two stories today, but one of them is one of my favorite stories. I just love reading this book. It's called I Got Rhythm. I Got the Rhythm. And this is by Connie Schofield Morrison, and it's illustrated by Frank Morrison. And the reason why I actually love this book, because it's really true to heart. I'm in some ways, I am this little girl. I remember, hanging out or spending the day with my mom or father or brother or sister, and often recognizing the sounds, the rhythms and beats of just walking around, whether it's coming from me or it's coming from other things. I always listen to music. I love music. I love to dance. So I always recognize sounds and how they relation to me. So I just love this book, and I want to share it to all my pre-K. So I do have a favor to all my pre-K out there. I need you to help me read this book. So there's sections in this book where she gets the rhythm. And whether it's the rhythm is coming from her eyes, her ears, her nose, her knees, her feet. I know you can't see my feet right now, but I'm stomping. But whenever I point to these things, whether it's a nose, ears, or eyes, I need you to do the same thing and help me, okay? And at the end, we're going to do our own rhythm parade, which is exciting, okay? So let's start it. I got the rhythm. And I actually wore my hair like that when I was younger. That's another reason why I can relate to this book. So I thought of a rhythm in my mind. Think, think. So everyone to think, think. I heard the rhythm with my ears. Beat, beat. I looked at the rhythm with my eyes. Blink, blink. I smelled the rhythm with my nose. Sniff, sniff. I sang the rhythm with my mouth. Oh la la. I caught the rhythm with my hands. Clap, clap. Trying to position it. I kept the rhythm with my fingers. snap, snap. I shook a rhythm with my hips. Shake, shake. I felt the rhythm with my knees. Knock, knock. I walked the rhythm with my feet. Stomp, stomp. I tapped the rhythm with my toes. Tip tap. I danced to the rhythm of a drum. Beep bop. She's really feeling it now. Oh, wow. I clapped and I snapped. I tipped and I tapped. I popped and I locked. I hipped and I hopped. Beep bop, bing bang, boom boom, boom. Boom box, beep boop, kaboom kaboom. I got the rhythm, and you can too. So you probably see why I love this book. So right now, if everyone is, because I know it's pre-K, if you want to stand up right now, we're going to do our rhythm parade. I have Heather, my assistant, back there, and she's going to pull up one of the sounds that this young girl hears in the story. And when we pull it up on the screen, because we're going to share it, I'm going to add it to the screen. I want you to do the same thing, okay? So this is our rhythm parade, all right? So is Allison ready? So we got to share one, whatever one you want to share first. All right. So I have a very first one, okay? And it's beat, okay? Remember the beat? So it's beat, beat. And our next one is going to be blink. Remember that one? She did blink, blink. So I want everyone to blink, blink. And then the next one is, remember she tap, tap with her toes? Tip, tap, tip, tap. I want everyone to tip, tap. And then I have one stomp, stomp. Remember she stomped? And the other rhythm she did in the book was clap, 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 clap. And the other one was snap, snap. Remember to do that with your fingers? Snap, snap. And one of them she did was her knees were knock, 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 knock. And the last one we're going to do is shake, 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 shake. Okay? So we're going to start it all from the beginning, okay? And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the ones that we're going. When I point to it, that's the one we're going to do, okay? So we did a trial run with our rhythm parade. So now this is the real parade, okay? So hopefully everybody got it, kind of, sort of understand what to do, okay? All right, my pre-K. So I'm going to point to it and we're going to do it, okay? So first one is blink. I got the rhythm, blink, blink. I got the rhythm, tap, tap. I got the rhythm, knock, knock. I got the rhythm, beat, beat. I got the rhythm, stomp, stomp. I got the rhythm, boop, bop. I got the rhythm, snap, snap. I got the rhythm, shake, shake. And lastly, I got the rhythm, clap, clap. That was wonderful. Good job, everyone, with your rhythm parade. Okay? So I got one more book I wanted to read to you. So if you were standing up, doing your rhythm parade, let's get settled back down. And I have one more book to read. And I like this read. I like this book, and I wanted to share it with you. It's a special book to me, and all of you are special. And I want to share this with you also, by Grace Bears. This is called "I Am Enough." See the picture there? I'm sorry, there's a glare coming from my window. And it's called "I Am Enough." Like the sun, I'm here to shine. Like the voice, I'm here to sing. Like the bird, I'm here to fly and soar high over everything. Like the trees, I'm here to grow. Like the mountains, I'm here to stand. Like time, I'm here to be, and to be everything I can. I'm like the champ, I'm here to fight. Like the heart, I'm here to love. Like a ladder, here to climb, and like the air, to rise above. Like the wind, I'm here to push. Like a rope, I'm here to pull. Like the rain, I'm here to pour and drip and fall until I am full. Like the moon, I'm here to dream. Like the student, I'm here to learn. Like the water, here to swell. Like the fire, here to burn. Like the winner, I'm here to win. And if I don't get up again, I know that I may sometimes cry, but even then, I'm here to try. Remember that. I'm not meant to be like you. You're not meant to be like me. Sometimes we will get along, and sometimes we will disagree. I know that we don't look the same. Our skin, our eyes, our hair, our frame. But that does not dictate our worth. We both have places here on earth. And in the end, we are right here to live a life of love, not fear. To help each other when it's tough, and to say together, and I want us all to say this together, I am enough. Well, thank you so much for joining us all today. This was a wonderful morning to spend with you. I couldn't think of any better morning is to spend with all of you today. I want to thank all of our readers this morning, Mrs. Marilyn Lark, Claudia Cream, Larry Cardwell. I want to thank all of our readers. I want to thank the Pennsauken Schools. And our district librarian, Bridget Zeno, thank you for helping putting this together. And Allison for helping putting up the my cards for my rhythm parade. I just want to thank everyone for helping out with this event today. And if you have any questions or if interested in any of these books that were read today during the Readers or Leaders, please contact the library. You can call us. You can email us. And these books are available and much more are available here at the library. We will be here again tomorrow live for Readers and Leaders. So if you want to tune back tomorrow, you're welcome to do so. We'll have different readers actually tomorrow. So we have a couple new books that will be read tomorrow. So I just want to thank everyone once again. And if you have any questions, I'll be on for a couple minutes to ask any questions if you have anything about the books, anything about the library. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I had a really good time. And remember, readers are leaders. And I know, like I said, I'm going to stay on for a couple minutes. I know there is a 10 to 20-second delay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Yes, Diane. Yes. I can't wait to read in person. We all miss you here at the library. I know Miss Sabrina, Miss Susan, Miss Heather, and youth services miss all of you who attended story time and many of our programs. We miss y'all tremendously. Can't express how much we can't wait until the day where we all can see each other in person, where you can visit us and we can visit you. We miss you all very much. Well, if there's no other more comments, yes, I can't wait. I can't wait. Yes, I can't wait till everyone come back to the library. Yes, we miss you all too. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This is the end of our Readers or Leaders for today. Like I said, we will be back tomorrow live with different readers, different books. And I just want to thank all y'all for attending. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Pennsauken Schools. And enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Bye-bye.